Imagine having the time and money to follow your passions and live life on your own terms. Welcome to Podcasting Mastery, where you'll learn the secrets of podcasting your way to a stress-free lifestyle. Let's grab a cool tropical drink and then join James and the Turtle in the Secret Beach Hut Studio.
Yes, this is James Martell, and I am tucked into the Secret Beach Hut Studio, and I'm very glad you've decided to join us today. This week, I will be continuing our conversation about developing a lifestyle business so we can all spend less time doing business and more time enjoying our families, more time traveling, and more time doing all of the things that matter to us most. It's for these reasons we continue to focus on strategies for both developing a passive monthly income stream and passive ways of developing new clients and customers for your business. So with this in mind, I am here with Bastian Ernst, founder of wildaudience.com, and today we're going to be talking about using respect-based marketing and relationship funnels to get people to feel, act, and convert. Bastian is going to talk about how you, as a podcaster, can use your show to drive leads into your sales process, build more authentic relationships with listeners, while at the same time teeing up sales by installing beliefs to sell more of your products or services. Now, before Bastian joins us, just a little heads up. For those who are interested in further monetizing your podcast and increasing revenues, a little shout out for my other podcast, The Affiliate Buzz, where we share true insider secrets to monetizing your blog, podcast, newsletter, and all online-based content. And a little heads up as well that last Thursday we published our 500th episode. It's a very special episode with 8 of the top affiliate marketing industry leaders joining us to give us a shout out and to share their number one tip for winning big with affiliate programs. So if you're a podcaster looking to increase revenues overall for your show and you have been considering or wondering how to use affiliate programs to do so, that might be a great episode for you to begin with, and you'll find that over at jamesmartell.com. That's Martell with 2 L's, jamesmartell.com. Now, Bastian is, again, the founder of Wild Audience, a marketing company that uses respect-based marketing and relationship funnels to get people to feel, act, and convert. And as Bastian says, instead of building a business that is heavily based on monthly promotions, discounts, countdown timers, fake, quote-unquote, scarcity, and product launches, he bases everything heavily on human psychology through respect, relationships, and trust. Bastian, welcome to Podcasting Mastery.
What's up, James? Thanks so much.
It's great to have you on the show, and I want to talk a little bit about your background in just a minute. But what is respect-based marketing?
Well, respect-based marketing kind of was born out of the frustration of trying to do what everyone does. So if you start an online business or if you want to be, build a location-independent business, and you look in the internet what other people do, you will see launches, promotions, discount timers, bonus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And I was playing this game, right? I was doing this because everyone was doing it. But it makes you, first of all, really dependent on these promotions, right? If you once screw up with that promotion, right? If your email system doesn't send out the email at the right time or you do a mistake and it doesn't convert at the rate you want it to convert, you will have a problem because you're so dependent on it, right? So what I do instead is I don't do promotions. I build sales processes that are evergreen, meaning people can buy my stuff 24/7, all day long, every week, every year. I don't close it, right? So that's evergreen. And then on top of that, we just base our marketing on never changing elements like relationship, trust, and buying beliefs, right? Because everyone has a belief system. You have some beliefs, I have some beliefs, the listener has some beliefs, right? And that's how we decide between right and wrong. And that's how we decide on buying things and not buying things. You will only buy an orange if you truly believe that an orange is yummy. If you don't believe that, right, you're not going to buy it. And that's what respect-based marketing is. If you have a product and service and you want to sell it in an authentic way, right, you first establish a relationship, you create trust, you get a certain, your avatar, your buying avatar to believe certain things, and then you ask for the sale instead of pushing them towards a direction where this person doesn't really need what you want to sell them.
It's so refreshing. And I must say, I think we've all probably been, I guess a good word would be victim of some of these so-called product launches and the fake scarcity, that there's only so many when you know it's a digital product and they can produce it forever, or these countdown timers that are just some number that they've pulled out of the air that you have to buy in the next 10 minutes or it's going to disappear off the face of the planet. It's so refreshing to hear an approach that basically takes all of that, puts it aside, and bases it on respect and relationships and trust. And that's why I thought it would be great to get you on the show, because podcasting is one of the best ways I found to be able to build relationships and gain their trust and earn their respect. And I think this is going to be a great conversation. Before we dig in, you mentioned you are in Spain, in Barcelona. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your background.
Yeah. Well, I actually grew up in Austria. I speak German. But then when I was around 18, I saw this one guy, and he was doing a keynote in like a startup conference. And I saw him. I was like, oh, man, he's so cool. Like, I want to work for this guy. I was 18, but he was, the keynote speaker. There were like 2,000 people listening. And after this speech, everyone wanted to like talk to him, get a signature of his book and so on. Anyways, I kind of like hustled my way through and achieved to get an internship with this guy. So, and he worked in Silicon Valley. So the next week I was flying over to Silicon Valley, and that's kind of like where everything started, I would say. I was working for the guy. He taught me everything about SaaS, software businesses, and marketing and selling and so on, right? And then after some time working for him, I decided I really have to burn all bridges and start my own thing. And that's when I started to travel. And actually did it for 3 years while doing consulting and starting my business. And I just finished the traveling part of my life last year. And now I'm based in Europe and stopped the constant moving because I did it for 3 years. And now I'm here.
What led you to Barcelona?
While traveling, I spent a lot of time in Latin America. I really love the language. I love Spanish. I love salsa dancing. I love bachata. I love all the Latin dances. I did it all the time, like every day, literally like work until 6, 7, and then I go dance. I did that in Colombia a lot. And so I was like, all right, I like Europe. What's the closest? All right, let's go to Barcelona.
That's great. It's great. As I told you before we got on the show here, is I spent some time, just a few days in Valencia in Spain, and it was just mind-boggling. I told my wife about it.
Beautiful.
We got to get back. Yeah, it's just an amazing place. So now let's talk about, first of all, you're starting a new podcast. We'll save that till after the break, because I think we can talk about respect-based marketing and this whole idea of building relationships and sales funnels, something that many podcasters are not taking advantage of. So why don't you kind of tee it up a little bit and talk about how you use respect-based marketing, evergreen marketing, and how you employ sales funnels, and what a sales funnel is for maybe those that are not familiar with what that is.
Yeah, so a sales funnel is like taking your best salesperson and then firing that person and put that person in the internet. It's basically an upgraded version of a website. It has a door, it gets people in, it builds up a relationship, and then it sells that person, and then it makes that person refer their best friends to you. And all this happens digitally, and most of the parts are automated, unless you need to jump on a call or something like that, right? So that's kind of like what a sales funnel is. It gets people into the door, establishes a relationship, and then sells them and gets them to refer you. And so that's kind of like what the basis of a sales funnel is. But that's just a sales funnel. What we do is a little bit upgraded. We build relationship funnels. We have a heavy focus on establishing relationships first. And the way we do it, so if you have a podcast, for example, right? You talk to a lot of people, you record some awesome audio, right? And you do this on the one hand for building relationships, of course, to staying in touch with your existing audience, but of course, to generate leads as well. That's why you have a podcast. But then the question is, all right, you do your podcast, maybe you participate in someone else's podcast. How do you get people into your door, into your world, right? And for me, this is always, and depends, but usually it's an email address. The reason for that is because once you have an email address, you can control the conversation. You can decide on when to reach out and when to start a conversation, right? And the way to do it is, if you have a podcast, at the end of the podcast, you will say something like, if you want to have the summary of what we just talked about during this episode, go to wildaudience.com/podcast and download your ebook there, right? They need to, of course, enter the email address and the first name. And if you're smart, you even add a segmentation process, like a little quiz there where you ask 3 questions to collect some data. And then after this moment, the whole relationship process / nurturing process kicks in.
You also base this on a lot on psychology as well, I understand.
Yeah, exactly. So it's extremely important that you 100% sure like who you want to attract. That's the customer avatar, right? That you know exactly, okay, what's this person's problem and what is this person's goal? And then what your marketing / sales funnel / relationship funnel does is gets that person right from that problem state almost all the way to the solution state, but not quite. Just a little bit before, because your product or service then needs to get them all the way there, of course, right? But the funnel acts like a trailer to a movie. It gets them excited, it gets them a little closer, but not all the way, right? And the reason we do this is because, as I said before, the most important part when it comes to selling is to, once you pick up that phone and then call that person or jump on a sales call or meet one-on-one or have that person be in a webinar or check out the sales page, instead of just sending these people to this conversion event, you actually first want to make sure before the person arrives there, this person has already all necessary buying beliefs installed. So what do I mean by that? I mean by that, you got to ask yourself the question, what does my potential customer / client need to believe before he or she can accept the desire or need of my product? Right? As I said before, you will never ever buy an orange if you don't believe it's yummy for yourself, right? And you gotta create a list of beliefs. Okay, a potential customer needs to believe this. Only then they pull out the credit card and pay, right? And your sales funnel, your relationship funnel, makes sure that before someone jumps on the sales call, checks out the sales page, all these buying beliefs are installed. Because guess what? If your relationship funnel does a great job of installing these beliefs, the conversion part itself will be easy, right? It's just a little push, but the heavy lifting was done before.
Just maybe some examples of a buying belief.
For example, a person will not start a podcast if that person does not believe a podcast is a great way to stay in touch with your audience. That person will never start a podcast if they believe it's heavy production costs and lots of costs are involved in it, right? So if you want to sell podcast services, right, you first got to make sure that podcast audio is the communication tool in 2018 and in the future, because people love voice. And then with Alexa and all these things, voice is going to be huge, right? And then you got to install that podcast. It's really simple to install. You just use Skype and use this tool and you're done, right? Then you install podcasts, an amazing way to establish relationships, right? Once you get that person to believe all these things, it's a no-brainer to purchase your podcast services, right?
So how would you tackle this? I don't know if this is a belief or just a fear, but a lot of podcasters, or potential podcasters, I should say, who are thinking about it, they got some fears. Like, I don't know if anybody's going to want to listen to me. What, do I have enough to share? Or here's a great one. I can't stand the sound of my voice. Is there any way you could deal with that kind of stuff?
Yeah. So this is basically a false belief. So someone has a false belief about, for example, the voice part, about themselves. It's an internal struggle. So basically what you, as someone who wants to sell a podcast owner, needs to make sure is you got to break this false belief and install a new, better belief, right? Which removes the old false belief. So the way you do it usually, the best way to do it is by telling a story, right? So you pick that person up and say, hey, you know what? In the past, I hated my voice, couldn't stand it, right? But then I met this person, and then this person gave me this little trick. And then I practiced in front of the mirror for 7 days, for 15 minutes, and now I love my voice. And people are loving it too, right? Here's how I did it. If you install this belief to this person who has the false belief about it, right? That's how you break it and reinstall it. And then you do the thing with the next one and the next one until there are no false beliefs left.
When you send someone to subscribe, and then you mentioned do a little survey, would you mind fleshing that out a little bit more? Because I would imagine that's the front end of the funnel.
Exactly. That's extremely important, because usually if you have a product or a service, right, and you usually have a few different types of buyers, right? Not everyone is the same, right? And usually we have around 2 to 4 different buckets. Depends, of course, how big your business is and your offerings and so on. But let's say on average, I can see with my clients around 3 to 4 buckets. With buckets, I mean types of buyers, right? Or types of stages they're in, types of pro level, right? Someone who's a beginner, an intermediate, and an advanced, right? You're going to talk different to someone who's a beginner than someone who's advanced, right? So you put them into 3 different buckets, let's say. And the way to do that is through a segmentation process. So what we do with our clients and our own funnels is that okay, I'll show up at the podcast, right? And then in the end I say, hey, if you want to have a summary, go to wildaudience.com/podcast, right? And then they get the PDF, right? If they want to sign up, instead of just asking for email address and first name, we do something what is called lead bucketing, right? We're going to ask one simple question before the email address. We ask them, hey, in order to send you our best PDF or ebook or whatever, what is your biggest problem right now? And then we give them 4 or 5 options, and then they put themselves into the bucket, right? It's called lead bucketing. So they just check one. It's like a multiple choice thing or a single choice thing, right? Then they enter the email address, and then they arrive on a thank you page. And there we say, hey, thanks for signing up for the ebook. You know what? I've actually created a 6-lesson free course which teaches you about the problem you just told me you have, right? So we personalize the experience here on the landing page. And hey, if you want to join it, can you please answer these 4 questions so that I can personalize your course experience? We ask them 4 more questions. We collect the data and store it in our CRM, in our ESP, in our email tool like MailChimp, ActiveCampaign, Infusionsoft, Trip, and so on, right? Once we have that data, guess what? We can personalize and customize the experience. The reason we do this is because every person is different. We want to be relevant. And the way to be relevant is by actually, if someone is interested in X, let's talk about X. And if you do this, you get the right people to feel that you are relevant. If you do this, they will naturally and logically engage with you. And if you get the right people to engage with you, you will always increase revenue and conversions. Engaging means clicking a link. If someone clicks a link in your email, boom, they're going to arrive on a sales page, right? The more people click, the more eyeballs on your sales page. Very simple math. You want to get the right people to be engaged. And there are a few ways on how to do this.
Okay, so maybe we could take a little quick break here. And then when we get back, let's get into some of those ways, if you wouldn't mind, to share some of the ways that you can help to get your audience more engaged. I think listeners are most interested in learning how to develop the lead bucket, move through multiple choice. So I guess you're segmenting your list right off the bat. Nice way to go. Onto a thank you page where you can ask them some more questions to customize their experience. Am I on the right track here?
You got it, yes.
I'm here with Bastian Ernst, founder of Wild Audience, and after a real quick break, we're going to continue this conversation about respect, relationships, and trust, evergreen marketing, relationship funnels, and using respect-based marketing to increase leads and sales. We'll do that and more right after the break.
More podcasting mastery from the Secret Beach Hut Studio after this.
Is your website out of date? Is it mobile friendly? Why not let us design your website and we'll make sure it looks the way it should on all platforms and devices, including iPhones, iPads, and other smartphones and tablets. We'll even optimize your site for search engines and make it easy for you to share your content and products on social sites such as Facebook and Twitter with built-in sharing features. For more information and to schedule your no-obligation free consultation, go to podcastingmastery.com/website. Once again, that's www.podcastingmastery.com/website.
Whether you're selling a product or service, looking to fill an event, or communicate with existing clients, a podcast will help you to disseminate information automatically 24/7, saving you time and money. In today's internet world, the sound of a compassionate human being will also help you to stand out, while at the same time garner feelings of trust, generate interest, grab attention, and lead listeners to take your desired action. If you're ready to create a podcast that produces results, James Martell wants to share with you his 21-step podcasting checklist to get you on the fast track to developing your own successful podcast. You can download this enlightening free checklist at podcastingmastery.com/checklist.
Is your podcast getting bogged down because of time or technical issues? Would you prefer to let someone else handle all of the production and technical details? Our virtual producer works remotely from a studio to provide you with production, technical, and creative assistance. Our virtual producer will call you and your guest by phone or Skype, and then record, produce, and upload each episode with SEO-friendly show notes to your website for automated distribution to social media and the major podcast directories. Sound intriguing? Visit podcastingmastery.com/virtual producer to learn more. That's www.podcastingmastery.com/virtual producer.
Now back to Podcasting Mastery from the Secret Beach Hut Studio.
All right, I'm here with Bastian, host of the new Wild Audience podcast. I want to talk with Bastian about that in just a few minutes. But before we get to that, Bastian, could you continue the conversation, please, about moving someone through a relationship-based funnel?
Yeah, exactly. Happy to. So we kind of left it off with the engagement part, right? How do you get the right people engaged? Because remember, getting the right people engaged will always increase your conversions and revenue, right? Just by getting more of the right people to click a link in your email to a sales pitch, you will automatically expose your sales pitch to more people, right? That's what you want. So how do you get them to be engaged? Okay. So there are a few ways. One way is, for example, open loops, cliffhangers, activation hooks, frequency selectors. So these are a couple of ways which you can use in order to do it. So for example, cliffhangers is a simple way, and I'm sure you know it. If you don't know what cliffhangers is, if you watch your favorite TV series, then there are 7 episodes in there. Guess what's the end of each episode? A massive cliffhanger, right?
Yes.
It's the reason why you do like 6 episodes in a night, kind of like watching thing. It's because of the cliffhanger, right? And basically, we watched the Hollywood TV series and so on, which is everyone would take this concept and put it into email sequences. Instead of just sending one-off emails, you sequence your emails and you kind of create your own little TV show on email, right? So that's kind of like how you get people hooked from one email to the next, to the next, to the next, right? That's why our people, the average email open rate is between 20 to 30%, right? Based on MailChimp, right? Our people get around 50 to 60%, sometimes even 80% open rate because of these concepts. So that's one, cliffhangers. Another one is frequency selectors, right? A frequency selector is if you give them the chance at the end of the email to decide, hey, I want to get the next email now or in 2 days, instead of just, because normally what people do is put people into an email sequence, email automation, and then they send an email every week, once a month, every 2 days, every single day, right? It's automated, it just runs. What we do is we create and architect the world, the funnel world, but we give the steering wheel to the person, him or herself, right? So they can decide, hey, I want to go this path, or I want to get fast track or slow track, right? There's a frequency selector. And what this is, at its essence, is a micro investment. Every time someone clicks this link, either now or later, they micro invest into you and in your content, right? And the more clicking or micro investments you get, the more they say yes, yes. And then when you ask them, hey, click this link to the sales page, they already said a couple of times yes. And that's what you want, it's a micro investment. The people with the highest conversion rates, right, are the people who click the most. So that's what the frequency selectors do.
So that's frequency selector. You talked about cliffhangers. Any others?
There are a few more, like activation hooks, where we activate people right at the beginning. We're getting them to reply. We tell them how to reply in the first email. I usually tell them, hey, reply ready. Right? And then when they reply ready, there's something really cool waiting for them. It's very easy to reply. I want them to reply because I know the people who reply are very likely to purchase later on, either the front end or the core product. So that's another one.
Interesting. This frequency selector, that is a new one to me. I've actually never heard that, where you could hand over the steering wheel. I understand the concept because I'm one of those guys that goes and signs up for a webinar, and I want to watch the webinar right now, please. And a lot of these webinars are set up so they're automated, so you don't get to see them for 4 days. A lot of times, by the time the webinar arrives, I'm doing something else I forget and I don't attend. Those webinars that they'll give you the instant replay right away, or at least the option to, that would be, I guess, equivalent to handing me the steering wheel to let me, basically take control of when I want to consume that content. So that's kind of what you're talking about here.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the frequency selector, I don't know. I haven't seen many people. All of our customers do it now, but outside of that, not much.
Let's do this. I'd like to talk about your podcast first, and then we'll flip back and we'll talk about the services that you offer to clients, because that's very interesting. And I'm sure there's some podcasters that are listening thinking, I'd like to know more about what you do, what you could do for me. But let's talk about your show. I know it's a brand new show. Arlene told me it's a brand new show. You're working on it. What has led you, because I know there's also listeners who are not podcasters who are seriously considering starting a podcast, and they haven't quite done so yet, but that's why they're here. That's why they're listening. They're learning about podcasting. What led you to decide that you're going to start a podcast?
So there are multiple reasons, but I'll talk about one, which is one of the main reasons. Basically, we're creating a lot of really cool content. Okay, so I interview a lot of big guys, and we talk about their specific marketing campaign, sales funnels, and so on. And then I have, of course, the audio, I have the video. But the reason I do it is because we have a writer and an editor, and I send it over to our writing team. Right? And then we create really in-depth 4 to 5K word article, right, about this person's business. This person is, of course, very demanded and liked by our customer avatar, right? So our customer avatar most likely knows this authority, right? So I position myself next to the authority. They can read the article, right? The article, of course, it will be in written form, but also in audio form and in video form. So now we have all the different ways of communicating with our people. Basically, we do one interview and then repurpose this one interview for an article, for a podcast, for a YouTube show, for a blog, for our email sequence, for our bots, right? Our Facebook ad retargeting funnels, our Google display, right? And that's all originating from this one interview. And that's why I love the podcast, because the podcast is the tool to build relationships with these guys who are way bigger than I am. And that's why I love it.
That's very interesting. In fact, on my other show, The Affiliate Buzz, we talk about this exact thing, how to repurpose content that you've already created. And I think you would agree with this. It's the actual initial interview where you gather up all of that rich detail. And a lot of times, if in the podcasting world, it becomes a podcast and maybe with some show notes. Other than that, that's about it for the use of that content. Meanwhile, there's so much good stuff there. And you talk about creating an article. You said 45,000 words from that one interview. So repurposing the podcast, in our particular case, into an article. You mentioned into a YouTube video. You mentioned a few others.
I also do Facebook Lives about them. And then one article will be then split out into smaller ones as well. So we're not one main one, 4K, 4,000 words, and then a couple of 2K articles as well. And then I'm going to do a Facebook Live, right? I'm going to look at the article and I'm going to basically do a Facebook Live of the content of the article to our existing audience. We can put it on YouTube, do like a screen share thing for YouTube. And then I'm going to do like more professional types of videos for YouTube, but I don't think about, okay, what do I create now? I just look at the article, which is based on this initial interview. I just have this mother piece, and then all these kids pieces, so to say, are based on the mother piece. And then, of course, this mother piece is 100% based on the belief system, which we talked about, right? So someone who reads the piece, while reading, gets all these beliefs installed.
One of the things that I learned many years ago in the online space, that it's usually a 3-to-1 ratio when creating content. So if you're going to write an article, it's 3 parts research and preparation, 1 part writing. And to me, that was surprising. I would have thought it would be the other way around. But no, it is. It really does work out to be about 3 parts. So if it's going to take you to write an hour to write the article, there's probably about 3 hours of research and prep time to write that article. And with what you're talking about, that 3-to-1 ratio is already basically handled with the interview, because you now have that rich detail from the guest. Would that be a fair way to explain it? That the good majority of the work is already done once you've done the interview?
That's very much correct, because before we did the interviews, I picked a person. I didn't interview, but I researched that person, right? So research, and now I shortcut it by interviewing that person. That's correct, yes. But for me, one part which is missing is the distribution part. So you do the interview, then someone needs to write it and editing it, and then promote. That's the main part. And that's very, very important.
So let's talk about that before we get into maybe the next phase here. But talk about promotion, because now you're sitting with 5 or 6 different types of content in front of you. And of course, it's not going to do you any good sitting on your computer. What do you do with it now?
This depends on the person's business and budget and team and so on. We do it 2-fold or 3-fold, actually. On the one hand, we do like the grinding, meaning we go and distribute, right? We take the article, we're part of a ton of Facebook groups where we know people like this stuff, where our customers hang out, and we create educational pieces, meaning these are posts without the link. The goal here is to get people to reply to the post, right? And then if we get a lot of replies, we then get the link. So Facebook groups is one thing. Then we go to our platforms. So I'm in the marketing world, right? So there's, for example, growth hackers and inbound and so on, right? But in every niche, there is like a forum or a platform where your people hanging out. So we go to all these social media things and distribute manually, right? This is work, but it's important. And then the second thing is we retarget, right? So everyone who visits post, the goal, of course, to get them to sign up, because that's the entry part or entry door into your world, right? It doesn't help you much, right? So the way to do it is to have content upgrades on the blog post, right? A content upgrade is an extra piece of content, like a PDF that extends the article, right? So someone who reads the article, for them, it makes sense to then sign up because the extension is very much wanted, right? But not everyone will do it, around 5% usually. So what do you do with the rest? We retarget them on Facebook, on YouTube, on Google Display, and so on, right? So retargeting is another one, right? And then you do Facebook Lives, you do YouTubes, right? And you always link back to the article.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, when you're done, that was with the article. I'd imagine you do something similar with the video and the other forms of content. You just make sure you really take the time to get it out there. Would that be a fair statement?
Yeah. Actually, we say like we need to spend 3 times the time it takes us to research and write this thing. We need to promote it. And for us, it takes around 2 weeks to create an article. So you can imagine how much distribution we put into an article. We got to make sure people actually read it.
I think that's a good reminder to us podcasters as well, that we do take the time to put together an episode and we create the show notes, but really that's just the beginning of it, isn't it? We now need to really make sure that it gets out there. And it does a fair bit of work. What advice could you give to a podcaster who is in that boat? Maybe they've been cranking out episodes, but they haven't really been taking the time to really promote it. Maybe they put it on their site, they do the usual things, but maybe a tip or two that they might not be thinking about that they could use to get a little more traction from that episode.
So what I would do is probably once the episode is published, a couple of days in, you check in with the guest. Hey, have you had the chance to promote it? That's the first thing. Write them an email. The second thing is I will listen, or if you have someone in your team or whatever, what parts of the episode can you spin out, right? Meaning maybe you can take like a part which you really liked and you know your audience will like too, and then put it with captions, text, and maybe the face of the two of you, right? Maybe if it's video even, you put it on Facebook, right? And then you want to promote it. You put it on Instagram, right? You create posts out of it. But what I would do is I would listen to the episode and like, what parts did I really like? Okay, where can I put them? If I have a Facebook group, put it there. Facebook page, put it there, right? And then if you have an email list, send it out. The way to do it is not like, hey, I have this interview, listen to it, right? Actually, listen to the part which you liked and then use this and teach it to your people, right? And then only in the end, you say, hey, if you want to learn more, you cliffhanger into the episode, right? You use the content to actually install beliefs, educate, right? Be valuable.
Very good stuff. Very good stuff. So, hey, let's do this. I'm going to jump into a real quick speed round with you. No prep on this one, just some really tough questions. And then we'll get you to share, if you would, more about the services that you offer and when and where listeners can then tune into your show. Question number 1, Windows or Mac?
Mac.
The PC guy here is losing this war badly. iPhone or Android?
iPhone.
Of course. Cat or dog person?
Dog.
Most recently read book?
Giordini, Persuasion.
Okay. And this is to a bit of a world traveler here, somebody from Austria who speaks German, who travels for 3 years, I think you'd mentioned, who now lives in Barcelona. Favorite vacation spot?
I'm a surfer, so I love Bali and I love Costa Rica.
Perfect. Techie or non-techie?
Techie, super techie.
Favorite podcast?
Favorite, I would say I love Gary Vee. You either hate him or like him, I like him.
Yeah. What's an online tool you use every single day that you would absolutely hate to live without?
Active Campaign.
Okay. What do you do for fun?
Surf and dance.
Okay, so we're going to have to kind of twist this around a little bit because your show's just coming out. What's the most rewarding thing that you've been able to do for someone else because of your business?
The most rewarding thing is getting feedback on, like, when a client comes to me and tells me, wow, man, one of my clients just told me they love the sales experience and bought as a result. That's pretty rewarding to me because that's what we do. We build sales experience that's actually enjoyable.
Which leads us into our last little segment here where would you take a few minutes and explain that process, what you do for clients, talk a little bit about your services, and then how listeners can reach out.
Yeah, for sure. So we work with online businesses and SaaS businesses, software as a service businesses, and basically got entrepreneurs, people who run businesses who have been in business for a while and just want to take their sales process to the next level, right? Meaning if you want to automate more, if you want to use more respect and relationship, and if you know that's important to you and to your audience, and you know it's important nowadays, right, because there's a lot of things going on, then you really want to look into respect-based marketing and then the human psychology of installing beliefs and so on, right? Because once you combine respect-based marketing with really smart funnel automation, that's when you're able to create this beautiful sales experience, right? And you can go to wildaudience.com/love, and then you can scroll down for minutes and minutes, and you will see like probably over 100 screenshots of people raving about this experience, because it's just so human, right? It's not about selling, it's about installing beliefs, it's about building relationships, creating trust, and then readying people, right? Once that person then is ready, that's when you offer your product as a solution to the problem. And that's exactly what we do. We come in, we work with your team, and we help you to build out this beautiful sales experience called the relationship funnel for you and your business, so that your people, actually your potential customers, enjoy it, get engaged, get all these beliefs installed, and then convert. You will be able to have a higher ROIs, more fun in your business, because you're not dependent on any promotions and any fake scarcity anymore.
Where can listeners learn more?
So basically they can go to wildaudience.com/podcast, right? That's where they get an ebook. They can sign up and they can explore the whole process themselves. Like once you sign up, first of all, get the whole summary of what I just talked about, like step by step explained with screenshots and everything and results. But the cool thing is the whole world actually plays out, right? You see how the website gets customized, the emails get customized, the bot messages get customized, the ads and so on, right? It's really fun. So if you want to check this out yourself, go to wildaudience.com/podcast. If you actually want to talk to me, you just go to wildaudience.com and then you find a way to talk to me.
Wonderful. Bastian, thank you so much. It's been just a real treat talking with you, and thank you for sharing all your knowledge and your experiences. It's been great.
James, I loved it. Thanks so much.
You're very welcome. Now, to our listeners, if you missed something here that Bastian mentioned here today, and he did cover a lot of ground, or just like to review what was covered, we do keep all the show notes for you, including links to everything Bastian talked about. And you'll find those show notes for this particular episode at podcastingmastery.com/PM069. I'd also like to take a moment to invite you to subscribe to Podcasting Mastery. If you happen to be on our YouTube channel or in iTunes or on our website or any one of the podcasting directories where we reside, please do go ahead and click the subscribe button. We'd love to have you as a regular listener, and you'll be alerted to new shows every single week. You can also do that at podcastingmastery.com/subscribe. Bastian, thanks again, and to all of our podcasting friends, we'll catch you in the next edition of Podcasting Mastery.
Thanks for joining us on the Secret Beach Hut Studio. If you are ready to start your podcasting adventure and to learn the secrets of podcasting your way to a stress-free lifestyle, go ahead and download the free Podcasting Mastery checklist at podcastingmastery.com/checklist and start your adventure today. But don't wait, the checklist won't be free for long, so be sure to grab your free copy today at podcastingmastery.com/checklist.